The Washington Post newspaper has published a mocking cartoon of US presidential candidate Ted Cruz with his daughters on its website, but then was quick to remove it again after he complained about it. Ironically, the story goes then that Cruz himself went on to use the image to raise money for his own campaign, further distributing the cartoon. The incident, though, overall sparked a debate in America right now about just when cartoons go too far. As Auntie's Ghana Chichikan reports.
The Washington Post is much criticized for publishing a cartoon which depicts presidential candidate Ted Cruz and his two young daughters as his trained monkeys. But should the paper be criticized for deleting the controversial cartoon from its website? The author of the cartoon, Intl, said her work was prompted by Cruz's decision to use his two young daughters as props in his political campaign. The Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist believes this made the children, quote-unquote, fair game. Here's Ted Cruz and his family in a political ad.
Timeless Christmas classics, read by the trusted conservative leader, Ted Cruz. The whole family will enjoy reading stories like The Grinch, who lost her emails.
I know just what I'll do, she said with a snicker. I'll use my own server, and no one will be the wiser.
Hours after the cartoon was published, Washington Post editor Fred Hyatt pulled it from the website and wrote, "I failed to look at this cartoon before it was published. It's generally been the policy of our editorial section to leave children out of it." But was the Washington Post always so politically correct? When the French cartoon magazine Charlie Hebdo was attacked, the Washington Post editorial board blasted other publishers for self-censorship because they wouldn't publish anti-Muslim cartoons. When Charlie Hebdo drew the drowned Syrian boy, Aylan Kurdi, the Washington Post questioned the decency of such cartoons, but its article still featured cartoons of the Syrian refugee boy. It debated whether it's right or wrong to make such cartoons, but it did not take them down. So why some cartoons are appropriate for public debate and others are not? Here's one take on the question.
As a political cartoonist who has seen this time after time with both my own work and my own editors, as well as that of my colleagues, it's getting a little bit old to be told that we're a society that values freedom of expression, and then the minute that some demagogue like Ted Cruz pretends to invent some kind of new rule about what we're allowed to draw and what we're allowed to write about or not, where he rolls over and takes the cartoon off the website of the paper, in this case, the Washington Post.
The question still stands. If, for the purpose of public debate, it was important to repost the cartoons of the Syrian refugee boy, then why not keep the Ted Cruz cartoon and allow a debate over that one? In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chekyan, RT.
A British Muslim family have had their Disneyland dream shattered after not being allowed to board a plane to Los Angeles. Two brothers and their 9 children all had the necessary paperwork, they claim, and they say they'd even got as far as checking in for that flight, but then were stopped at the very last couple of minutes from boarding it without any explanation. RT's Harry Fear met one of the fathers.
While we was queuing up to board the plane, one of the guys actually were wearing UK Border Force high-vis. Came up to us and he demanded passports, and we gave it to him, and then later he came back 10 minutes later and he said, there is a problem with Esther, and I'm afraid that you won't be allowed to board the plane.
And you're sure that this all happened because you're a Muslim family? Yeah,
because when I looked around, I didn't see any Muslim person on that, in that lounge, in that cabin. And we were the only person that were picked up.
Obviously you're aware of Donald Trump's comments.
Yeah, I mean...
Do you feel that you have been trumped?
Well, it does feel like we've been trumped. Yeah, it does, certainly. End of the day, we weren't given any explanation. And then what we tell our kids in a circumstance like that, I mean, what do we tell them? They kept asking me questions. What do we tell them? So what, I mean, I was speechless. It's like we had no rights.
Now, you have family in California.
Yeah, I have, my brother lives there.
Perhaps we could Skype with them now.
I hope they'll be able to come again, because my children are still hoping that they've been looking forward to come together again. And I'm hoping that these guys will come, and all you can do is just wait. And
I mean, we're doing our best to find justice here, T, and see if things get sorted out. And we will come back. It's not that we're not going to come back. We're just trying to come out of this mad situation at the moment.
How are you going to enjoy this festive season now?
It's just we have to make the most of it. It looks like we're stuck with a cat.
Well, Mohammed and his family were told that it was American officials, as it was put, who prevented them from boarding the plane. We asked the US Customs and Border Protection Office why that decision was taken. Bit of a sparse answer. They said religion or faith does not determine whether a person's admitted to the US or not, though they didn't actually provide us with the reason that the family was not allowed to board that plane. Ahead, huge deals on the table as the Indian Prime Minister visits Moscow. That and more very shortly.